All right, you're going to learn about least common multiples. Let's talk about the word multiples. So I want to know the multiples of 4 and 6. Multiples of 6. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 4 is 24. Those are multiples of 6. Let's do multiples of 4. So I'd have 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. All right, those are multiples. What if I want to know the least common multiples? I need to find the number they have in common, but the very least number they have in common, which would be least common multiples. So they both have 12 in common, and that's the least number that they have in common. Well, what does that have to do with comparing fractions? Well, let's say I have 2 6 and I have 3 fourths. Okay, if we're comparing 6 and fourths, that denominator is not in common. Well, if I know my least common multiple is 12, I also know my least common denominator. So I can turn 6 and fourths into 12ths because they have that in common. Okay, so what if I have 2 6? So I want to know 2 6 is how many 12ths? Well, 6 times what is 12? 6 times 2 is 12. And if I multiply my denominator by 2, I also have to multiply my numerator by 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. So that'd be 4 twelfths. Well, okay, let's turn 3 fourths into 12ths. So how many twelfths is that equal to? Well, 4 times what is 12? 4 times 3 is 12. And again, if I multiply my denominator by 3, I got to multiply my numerator. So 3 times 3 is 9. So if I want to compare 4 twelfths to 9 twelfths, well, I'd rather have 9 twelfths of the pizza than 4 twelfths of the pizza. So 3 fourths would be greater. Let's do another one. Okay, what if I have 4 and 8? Well, I'm going to start with finding their least common multiple. So I have 4, 8, 12, 16. Those are my multiples of 4. Do multiples of 8. So I have 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3, 24. 8 times 4 is 32. I'm going to find their least common multiple. Well, looks to me like they both have 8 in common. That's their least common multiple. Well, if that's my least common multiple, that's also my least common denominator. So let's say we have 5 eighths. And we want to compare 5 eighths to 2 fourths. Well, they have eighths in common. Well, 5 eighths is already eighths, so that one's good. Let's turn 2 fourths into eighths. So 2 fourths is equal to how many eighths? Well, 4 times what is 8? 4 times 2 is 8. If I multiply the denominator, I also got to multiply the numerator by the same thing. So 2 times 2 is 4. So now I'm comparing 5 eighths to 4 eighths. Now that they have a common denominator, it becomes easy. Well, 5 eighths is more than 2 eighths. So there you have it, guys, using least common multiples to compare fractions.